How did the Jackal become the British Army's top sniper? Just look at his mission to take out a Taliban leader, and it all becomes clear. His spotter, Gary, was responsible for calculating wind drift and distance before giving the Jackal the green light to shoot. But peering through his scope, the Jackal realized the man stepping out wasn't their target at all. Gary urged him to just take the shot anyway, kill whoever it was and call it a day. He just wanted to get the hell out of there. But the Jackal flat out refused. The ground temperature was pushing 100 degrees Fahrenheit, the scorching sun practically burning his face black. But he remained perfectly still, patient as a seasoned hunter. They stayed locked in position like that for 6 solid hours. Finally, the real target appeared in his crosshairs. The Jackal didn't hesitate. He squeezed the trigger, and the bullet struck dead center between the target's eyes. The guards at the compound couldn't wrap their heads around it afterward. Their leader had been killed from nearly a mile away. By that time, the Jackal and Gary were already in the pickup truck that came to extract them, slipping out of enemy territory without a trace. As one of the British Army's most renowned ace snipers, the Jackal belonged to a highly classified special forces unit tasked with raids, captures, and eliminations of high-level Taliban operatives. Working in perfect sync with his spotter Gary, they completed one lethal mission after another. Both men assumed they'd serve their country until they died on the battlefield. But then one day, a mysterious man in sunglasses showed up and completely changed the Jackal's trajectory. Having just wrapped up an incredibly difficult sniper mission, the team leader gave the Jackal and Gary some well-deserved downtime. They headed to a beachside bar near the base to enjoy a rare break. While the two sat chatting over drinks, a stranger next to them suddenly bumped into them. The mood turned tense instantly, and an argument broke out. To smooth things over, the man apologized and offered to buy them around. It seemed like a random encounter, but it was anything but. It was a carefully orchestrated approach. His target was this infamous sniper team. After gradually earning their trust, the man, who called himself John, finally laid his cards on the table and revealed his true intentions. He got straight to the point. Since you're killing people every day for the military anyway, why not use those skills to make some extra cash on the side? A friend of his needed someone taken out, and if they were willing to take the job, they'd each walk away with 20,000 pounds. Sensing the Jackal's hesitation, John didn't push. He just handed him a business card and told him to think it over. Truth was, the Jackal did have reservations. Operating outside the military system, killing people privately, that could easily land him in prison. But for two soldiers making next to nothing, the offer was incredibly tempting. 2 days later, on a street in Turkey, a gang leader surrounded by bodyguards was about to get into his car. The next second, a bullet went straight through his forehead. No question about it. The trigger was pulled by the Jackal and Gary on their first freelance job. The hit was clean and efficient. They jumped into a waiting car and vanished from the scene. John was extremely pleased with their execution and paid them on the spot, then immediately dangled another carrot. He wanted to establish a long-term partnership, double the pay, and he'd even cover all travel and equipment expenses for their operations. Gary was clearly tempted, but he kept his head on straight. They still had 3 years left on their service contracts. If they went AWOL, not only would they never live to spend the money, they'd have military police hunting them down worldwide. But as they turned to leave, the Jackal glanced back with a meaningful look, a detail that hinted this was far from over. Shortly after returning to the unit, they received new orders. This time, the target was a Taliban frontline commander, and the orders were to take him alive. Intelligence indicated he'd be coming down from the mountains that day to attend a relative's wedding. Since the plan called for a non-lethal capture, the team leader positioned the Jackal at a distance to provide sniper overwatch while the rest of the assault team moved to the outskirts of the wedding venue to negotiate and demand they hand over the target. Initially, under the threat of British heavy firepower, the guards remained restrained, stalling for time by going back and forth with the team leader. But then Gary suddenly spotted an enemy sniper setting up on the opposite hillside. His teammates' lives hung in the balance. The Jackal immediately swung his rifle around, locked onto the target, and pulled the trigger without hesitation. The gunshot shattered everything. The situation spiraled out of control instantly. Enemy fighters returned fire, and the scene erupted into full-blown chaos. Someone grabbed an RPG from the corner, and the gunner on the pickup's mounted machine gun started spraying bullets like rain. They'd completely lost it, not caring at all that the building was full of unarmed civilians. The thick concrete walls were blown to pieces. By the time the team leader finally called for a ceasefire, the scene was nothing but carnage. From his position, the Jackal suddenly realized this wasn't an armed stronghold. It was a wedding. He grabbed his rifle and ran toward his teammates like a madman, but the assault team had no intention of stopping. After lobbing a grenade inside, they immediately began clearing the building. The last 2 survivors from the wedding party were executed on the spot. What was supposed to be a capture operation had devolved into a bloody massacre of innocent civilians. To cover up this disaster, the team leader made a split-second decision and ordered them to stage the scene. He lied to command, reporting that the unit had come under heavy fire and requesting a precision airstrike to wipe out the entire area. Witnessing this inhuman slaughter, the last remnants of the Jackal's faith began to crumble. But reality didn't give him time to think. Command had already given the order. In 5 minutes, the area would be hit by missiles. All he could do was jump into the evacuation pickup and retreat with the team to a hillside a kilometer away, silently waiting for the final reckoning. The next second, the missile struck precisely where the smoke marker had been placed. All evidence, all bodies, erased completely in the explosion. The team members breathed sighs of relief, even laughing without a care in the world. as if the massacre had never happened. No remorse, no guilt. Only the Jackal and Gary remained silent, faces tight, unable to shake what they'd just witnessed. Mission complete, the squad prepared to head back. But just as the convoy was about to move out, the sharp-eyed Jackal suddenly ordered everyone to stop. He'd noticed an unnaturally placed mound of dirt off to the right. In the Afghan war zone, that kind of disturbance usually meant explosives. The team immediately went on high alert, weapons raised, scanning the surroundings. After confirming no enemies were lurking nearby, the Jackal volunteered to check it out, and specifically asked Gary to come with him. This confused Gary completely. Bomb disposal was already a death wish of a job. Why drag him into it too? But the Jackal ignored his complaints, just picked up the metal detector and moved forward carefully, one step at a time. As he got closer, the beeping grew more and more rapid. Not taking any chances, he put the device away and pulled out a screwdriver from his pocket, manually probing the ground for whatever was triggering the signal. When he was just one step away from the target, everyone's breathing nearly stopped. Then the Jackal finally saw what was reflecting the sunlight, nothing but a beat-up toy car. The tension evaporated instantly. The team members cursed under their breath and turned to head back to the vehicles. But the Jackal, when called, didn't move. He quietly slipped his hand into his pocket and pulled out a cell phone. The next second, he pressed the button. A deafening explosion swallowed everything. Not a single team member survived. The British Army's top sniper, known as the Jackal, died on Afghan soil that day. And somewhere in the shadows of the world, there appeared a top-tier hitman who would never collect his final payment.